Chicks with dicks? What is this, Netflix? Hey guys, it's Katie, your host of Faith at Work, and I said it. We are literally talking about women's rights and men that have decided that they are women. So, like it or hate it, this is the reality. We literally have men who still have their male member who have decided that they are women. And they're going to participate in women's sports. And they're going to represent the female on ads for huge companies and take the role of women in huge companies. And they're going to compete in the Olympics. And they're going to take over all of the trophies that women were winning. I mean, it's literally, they're going to change their sex in jail and become women and then be able to get moved to the women's prison, or do they keep them in the men's prison? Like, what is going on in the world right now? I want to bring this one to the Bible like immediately, get some feedback from Val, and then hit on some things that are on our minds about women needing to protect other women. Where are the feminists? Where do the feminists go? Why are feminist groups not outraged, going crazy? I know some are, but not everybody. Half the people who are feminists are sticking up for women that are actually men. How is that protecting women and women's rights with everything that has happened in our country and in the world, where women are now in such a role that they can actually come out and have their own sports and be televised and have like everything that men have? Why are we reverting back to the point where we're allowing men to step on women, to take things from women? That's all you're doing. You're allowing a man to pretend to be a woman to be good at a sport that he wasn't good at as a man. So you're one of the worst swimmers. You come over to women's sports and you're the best. I mean, does anyone get why that is? Is it not apparent why men shouldn't be competing in women's sports? I mean, the Olympics, it was weightlifting, you guys. I was a CrossFit athlete. Like, there's a reason there's a prescribed weight, and that there's a prescribed weight for men and there's a prescribed weight for women. And guess what? In CrossFit, a lot of the men and women that were really good were almost the same height and weight. It was like, seriously, everyone was like 5'10", 180. Men and women. That was like the height and weight of both. And guess what? They still, at the same weight and height, had a completely different amount of weight that they had to move and an amount of power that they were able to generate. It is completely different. A man is not a woman, and a woman is not a man. Hallelujah. We're happy about that. I mean, I can tell you, for me personally, I was a tomboy all the way. At recess, I was not like getting my doll out and looking cute and flirting with the boys. I was sweating. I was like all out. If we were playing soccer at recess, I was sweating. I was running. I was trying to beat the boys, like always trying to keep up with the boys or playing with the girls. But I'd always be playing, right? If you would have given me the option to become a man back then, it wouldn't have helped me in sports, but I might have taken that option. Like, how cool would that be? Yeah, I get to play the harder sports. I'll tell you right now, with my church, with grow groups and things like that, and like women's night and men's night, they get to go there, have some awesome experience, and then they like throw axes, play cornhole, play poker. Like, these are all things that I really like. You know what the women do on women's night? They like eat hors d'oeuvres and then they have dessert. Like, it's not my jam, right? But does that make me a man? Does that mean that I should be able to change myself into a man because I like things that men like? Should you be able to change your sex just because you don't feel like comfortable in your body when you're a grade school or high schooler? Who does? Like, it's unbelievable to me that we're thinking that this is something where if all these kids had this problem when we were growing up, where were they? And all of a sudden it's cool and it's actually like something that's protected and it's something that's kind of like what everyone should be doing. It's almost not good if you think that it's weird. No wonder all these kids want to change sexes. And I'm sorry, women, us changing sexes to men doesn't help us at all. Men changing their sex to a woman, they get to now be in your dressing room looking at you naked. They get to change jails maybe into a lot easier jail if you're a guy turning into a woman. I'm pretty sure you'd want to be in a woman's jail. Hopefully you can't bring your member there. I'm not quite sure. We'll look that up. And then you get to win in all the sports. So what is the benefit of a woman becoming a man when there's so many benefits to a man becoming a woman? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Let's bring it to the Bible in Genesis 2:18, and this is where women get in trouble. And this is where I'm going to pull Val in. Then the Lord said, "It is not good that a man should be alone. I will make him a helper fit for him." This gets women riled up. Like the ultimate feminist gets riled up more at that verse than men in sports. Can you believe that? And some women are just riled up by this in general. And I'll tell you, I was one of them. I am an independent, hardworking. I make my own money. I could live by myself and be good for the rest of my life. I do not need a man. And that is what society told me. And it's what the devil came at me for. Even within my marriage, the devil came to me and said, "Why are you dealing with him? You're good. You can take care of yourself. You can make money. You don't need a man." And I'll tell you that is from the pit of hell. It is from the pit of hell that's telling you that you do not need your partner. You were literally created from him for him. And so that you guys could become one. It doesn't say you become a man's shoulder. It doesn't say you become a man's rib. It says you were taken from him, and when you are married, you become one. That means that he's not better than you and alone he's good and he doesn't need you. It means that you literally cannot function in the full greatness that God has for you unless you are one with a man, with a woman. And I truly, truly believe that. And I know people have all different types of views. And I know that when we started talking about this, Val got a little riled up. So Val, why did you get riled up about Genesis? She was trying to change the verse of the day.
I feel like for me, and maybe it's just that I'm young, and maybe it's also just, the era I've grown up in. Yeah, no. I just think the younger you are, the more, at least for a woman, at least in society right now, the more focused you are on, I got to be independent. All those things you're saying. I got to make my own money. I got to work my job. I screw my kids. I'll send them to daycare. And I'm not anti-daycare. Women got to work. We got to do what we got to do. But what I mean to say is feeling empowered by the things that are not feminine. Mm-hmm. And even though I feel like I'm kind of turning a corner on my beliefs, it's hard to let go of every time I read in the Bible that women should be submissive to their partners, mm-hmm. kind of like itching. I don't know. I literally said I cringe because I feel like it's putting women back. Mm-hmm. And that's something I feel like I've kind of felt ever since I hit puberty and was like, oh, I'm just as good as a boy.
Yeah, I get that. I get that so hard. And I loved starting that conversation and pausing it for this because I know that the one place that the devil can get me is in that independent, empowered woman. God made me strong, made me able. He made me this for a reason, and it wasn't for myself. And that's what I started to realize when I partnered with my husband, Anthony. So before I was in charge of Anthony. I met Anthony. So when I met my husband, I was his boss. So I'm 8 years older than him. I'm his boss. I'm in charge. I'm a bad A woman, right? I own businesses. I know what I'm doing. I'm the leader. I'm total type A. I'm I'm the alpha. And I always was in my relationships. And no wonder they all dissipated, right? Because I was always the one that was in charge. I was the head, right? And then I met Anthony and I was still the head. But then as I saw him develop his relationship with God and we had this amazing relationship start to form under God with our relationship, it started to put me not in a completely submissive role, but it allowed me to see the things that my husband has been created to do and to lead and what my role is in that. My role is not less important. You know what I love about the word helper? Is that the word helper is used in the Bible, and this is in the Bible recap. It's a Bible study that we're doing, and if you're not in a Bible study right now, we want you to kind of look below and see if you want to jump into our Bible study because we're reading the Bible every day, and it has you break out every single verse in there, and one of the verses it had us break out was about the helper, and it was like, oh my gosh, I'm just like this little helper, like you're the help or you're a servant. No, it's that you are literally made for that person. You are made to be in community, in one body with that person to reach your ultimate purpose under God. And in the Bible, God is Israel's helper in war. So it's not small. It's not weak. It's not meek even. It is a powerful role that we've been gifted with from God, that when we find our true partner and we are in our roles, nothing can stop you. If you are in that tight role and bond with your husband, nothing can come against you. And I truly believe that. And I had all of these same feelings like, submitting to, like secondary, like we can create all this language around it. And that's society. That's society telling you that you're secondary to your husband. God's not saying that. God doesn't put in there, you're number 2. God says, I love you all the same. And you're to love your wife the same way that you love yourself and that you love God. We're all supposed to love and respect each other. It's just that we've been created a certain way and we've been created with certain needs even. Like men need respect, right?
Yeah.
We need to be adored. We need to be loved. They need to be respected. Once you learn what that means to your partner, you will have an endlessly amazing relationship. But I get this like fight or flight that Val goes into because it's like, it's hard. It's like every time you read a word, you can make it something that it is, or you can open yourself up to God further and further and be like, God, work on me right there. What is it about that word? What is it about that verse that's making me feel like a hesitance to be who you called me to be? Because that's all the Bible is telling us. Like, we were called to be children of God. We were called to mate basically with a male and female and become one. And when we do that, anything that you guys try to do together will go unbelievable. And when you try to fight that, see what happens. How is that working out for women these days?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And that's even something. So I'm freshly married. I don't know if you guys know this, but it's like brand new. It's been like a month.
2 days.
Yeah, it's not been a long time. And even in that, I think I kind of struggled in a similar way. Katie was saying she has, because like I've always been better at money. I've always been a little bit more responsible. My husband is much friendlier and he is wonderful and he's a hard worker. He's amazing. But those, I guess, societal markers that made me feel like I needed to be in charge. Like I made more money even, which was not that it was a thing, but it's a thing where it feels like, oh, am I supposed to be submissive when I'm bringing home the bacon?
Providing.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And so getting past that, it was tough for me. It's been tough and it is a journey. I'm definitely not at the end of it. But I think I kind of realized if I am not encouraging my husband to be the best version of himself, he is having that much of a harder time being the man that I feel is worth submitting to.
Oh my gosh. If you don't let him lead, how are you going to be his follower? But really, if he's not leading the household, like you said, I always made more money than the men that I was with and even Anthony. And it's like, okay, if I'm providing, are you cooking? You know, it's like what society makes us think these roles are supposed to be. They're so surface level roles. They're not our roles like as women and men with respect and love. They're like the things that we have to do to keep the home clean. Like he hunts, I gather, I clean. It's like, okay, you are going to have those things. Like the man might be a better chef. That doesn't mean that he's now the woman, and that's a big thing. Like, men, I'm sorry. I am sorry what society has done to you. Society has made being a leader and an amazing man bad. It has made you have to be, I used to be so bad with Anthony. Like he always felt emasculated because I was always like, well, I make the money and you do this. And I. And I never, ever, ever sat back and thought, well, if I'm always pushing my agenda or my talents or my everything on him, how is he supposed to become the man that I would want to follow? And that's what he is now. He's literally the man that I want to follow. It doesn't mean that he's always the best at everything or that I couldn't do things different or better, because we always think that, right? We're always like, man, if I would have just done that, it would have been better. You can still have those thoughts and those arguments and things like that, but when you truly realize how amazing it is to be a woman, that's why all the men want to be us, right? All the men want to be women now because they realize how amazing it is to be a woman. And if women would just realize that you can make money, you can be a mom, you can be a submissive, amazing wife and helper to your husband, and that doesn't take your power away. And I think that word empowerment really confuses women, like with abortion and everything. It's like it doesn't mean that you take something away from someone else. Empowered is supposed to mean that it makes you your best. So remember that when you're trying to think about your role, get into the Word of God and remember what you were created to be. And it definitely wasn't a chick with a dick. We'll see you next time on Faith at Work. Stay elevated.